Outdoors Delmarva covers everything outdoors, including real hunting and fishing situations involving wildlife. Now, we do our best each week to bring you tasteful content, but viewer discretion is advised. Now, enjoy the show.
You're watching Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards.
This week, we feature the Delmarva legacy of decoy carving by first heading to Chincoteague for the 42nd annual Easter Decoy and Art Festival. We'll head to Cambridge for a kids' decoy carving class hosted by the Dorchester County Historical Society. Scorchy Taws takes us to Parksley, Virginia to meet a man with a burning passion for decoys. And we'll attend the 50th Ward World Championship Carving Competition and Art Festival. Outdoors Delmarva starts right now.
Welcome to Outdoors Delmarva, the show dedicated to a commitment of conservation and to the community that makes Delmarva's outdoors such a hidden gem here in the Mid-Atlantic. My name is Jason Lee.
And I'm Lauren Hitch. Jason, have you ever played Duck, Duck, Goose?
Well, of course I have.
Duck, 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 goose. This episode is all about decoys.
You really quacked yourself up, don't you?
This is Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards. And now, here's Jason Lee.
The 42nd annual Chincoteague Easter Decoy and Art Festival welcomed Easter weekend with handmade masterpieces.
And we found out that the festival had an international flair to it.
Today we are at the Chincoteague Combined School on Chincoteague Island, Virginia for the 42nd annual Easter Decoy and Art Festival. We have about 59 exhibitors here today, decoy carvers and artisans from around the country who have come together for this annual tradition on Chincoteague Island. There are fine artists, watercolors, acrylics, pastels, woodworking, jewelry making, and a lot of our exhibitors will craft on site. So it's a great opportunity to learn more from those exhibitors on their love of their craft.
I'm from Elkton, Maryland. I've been carving over 30 years now. My father-in-law taught me how to carve just because I didn't have anything else to do. And, I was always hanging around his shop. Most all of my carvings are made from old reused wood. It's a technique I learned along the way, and I found that the more weathered and beat up the wood is, the more unique character the finished bird has when I'm done.
I've been doing the show for probably 15 years or so. Been making calls since 1992. Been making calls for quite a while. We make deer calls, duck calls, goose calls. We have many varieties of the woods. All the woods are hand carved, hand turned, and we got many to choose from. Some are expensive and some are, pretty inexpensive. But I enjoy this show. People come from all over, and it's a good time.
I've been painting since I was a small child, all self-taught, and I do about 7 or 8 shows a year selling my artwork. And I do all the custom framing myself as well as the matting.
So our highest award is the Curtis Merritt Award of Excellence. Curtis Merritt was a decoy carver here on Chincoteague who is actually blind. He became blind through his cancer diagnosis, and but he taught himself to carve and was an accomplished carver here on the island. So the exhibitors actually vote on that person for their craft, but also their giving spirit, their personality. And then we also have the best carver, best artist, and best photograph of Chincoteague and Assateague Island that are voted on by the general public.
There's always something happening on the island of Chincoteague, and to check out more events, you can go to chincoteaguechamber.com and click their events calendar.
Coming up after the break, we'll get a hands-on lesson in decoy carving with the Dorchester County Historical Society. Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru, returns right after these messages.
You're watching Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards.
Welcome back to Outdoors Delmarva. As a mom myself, I love to take my kiddo out to do things to get his creative juices flowing and to possibly wear him out a little bit. Jason recently got to attend an event in Dorchester County to be a kiddo himself. Did you wear yourself out too, Jason?
I did not, but I was inspired by the creativity of those who attended the carving class in Cambridge.
Children are the keepers of traditions, and the tradition of decoy carving here on Delmarva has a legacy like no other. The Dorchester County Historical Society is doing their part to ensure the tradition of decoy carving finds a new home with the next generation. I got a chance to witness firsthand a dove decoy making class back in April.
Well, this is the first one we've done with just kids. And we're hoping to do at least one a year, maybe two a year, and maybe do things like birdhouses, hands-on things. But the decoys are special with me because I love doing decoys. You guys can start painting whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Okay? You're going to help them, Miss Lisa?
I will. Yes. It's calmer, it's not the second color. It's not this color, right? It's this color.
Yes.
All over the back. Dark color.
Remember, painting is fun.
Oh, it is. Painting is great fun.
Yeah. Okay.
I love to paint.
Say it, painting is fun.
We might need a little more in here. This is getting pretty busy.
Oh, you know what a 22 bullet is. And these are empty cartridges.
That's a 22 bullet there.
Have you ever done it that way, Mary? Watch what he does. See, it makes a perfect round circle.
Oh, wow.
See? You like that, Merritt? That's easy. Importance is that we're carrying it into another generation. This, for me, it's 2 generations below. And hopefully, well, like Ron Rue said, I'll show you guys how to carve if you will pass it on to somebody else. That's how the tradition carries on. And kids now, they want to be busy with their hands. As you can see, they're tickled right to death. And when they heard they're getting pizza, they even got more tickled.
Wow, what a talented group.
And a surefire way to get me out to any event is to offer me pizza. Coming up after the break, the Outdoors Delmarva Decoy Special will continue.
You're watching Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards. Sponsored by Shorts Marine.
Welcome back to Outdoors Delmarva. Now, Lauren, fire is usually a destructive force.
That's right, but in this week's Remembering Scorchy-Talls, we learned that the same fire can also create beautiful masterpieces.
Honoring the life and legacy of Scorchy-Taws, thanks to Shorts Marine in Long Neck, Delaware. Shorts Marine, everything but the water.
a smear of paint, the strike of a match, and swoosh. You could call it antiquing with fire.
It just gives a different texture. It gives it an old texture. And I like old things. Old things have a lot of character. And I try to give my birds a little character, I guess. And this helps.
44-year-old Bob Swain lives just outside of Parksley, Virginia. Has been in a wheelchair since 1965 as a result of an automobile accident. And with the urging of prominent carver Mark McNair of Craddockville, entered the world of carving 3 short years ago.
The first thing I did actually came out looking like a duck. It sort of surprised me. And the second thing I did, somebody wanted to buy, and it's been going on since then.
Shortly after carving his first birds, the fire idea came into play.
I use the Japan paints, and they dry quickly. But again, we get back to patience, and I don't have that. And I want them to dry quicker than they do, and so I tried just lighting it one time to see what would happen, and it left an interesting effect. Super. Simply put it on while it's still wet, just take a match and poof, you got an instant fried bird. And where it stops is where you stop it. I mean, if you let it go, you end up with nothing, obviously. And
Bob Swain has been playing with fire for quite a little spell now. And when we asked him to evaluate his work, was very modest.
But on a scale of 1 to 10, I don't think I'm up to 1 yet. I got an awful long way to go. I've only been doing this for 3 years, so I've been very, very lucky. And I'm afraid luck will run out, and then skill's got to take over. I don't know where that's going to lead me.
We'd say it's going to leave him with some very beautiful birds. Scorchy Taws wandering our Delmarvelous land for WBOC News.
Remembering Scorchy Taws is presented by Shorts Marine, online at shortsmarine.com.
Did you know, according to the Guinness Book of World Records, the highest price ever paid for a duck decoy was a private deal for 2 A. Elmer Cromwell decoys for $1.13 million each. The preening pintail drake and sleeping Canada goose. Now you do.
Did You Know is sponsored by North Bay Marina. Outdoors Delmarva will be right back. You're watching Outdoors Delmarva presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards.
Welcome back to Outdoors Delmarva. The Roland E. Powell Convention Center was recently home to a 50th anniversary.
And many flocked to Ocean City to help celebrate the momentous occasion.
This is the World Championship Carving Competition that we have every year here in Ocean City. We have people from around the world come to compete, see how they do against other competitors. We have thousands and thousands of entries. It's a great place to come see wildfowl art and see the heritage of the Eastern Shore. I've been with the Ward Foundation for probably 30 years, and you work your way up. I started out as just a worker, moving birds around, and then I eventually got, since I proved that I knew the difference in the birds and how they were made, then I worked my way up to a judge, and now I'm chairman of the board. There's criteria that we use, coloration of the bird, how it's carved, if it is anatomically correct. There's a lot of different criteria that we look for. Some out, if we judge out on the bay, we look how they float out in the natural environment. So there's a lot of little things that we look for that pick the best from the best. There's a lot of different categories. There's interpretive, how something makes you feel. There's pieces that are made just of stained and natural wood, or you have pieces that look actually like they're going to fly away. They're so intricately carved and detailed. They look like they could just spring to life and fly off. We have over 500 contestants that are here from around the world, competing for over $60,000 worth of prize money. We've had competitors from Russia, and we've also had competitors from Japan. Decoy carving is a big part of the history of the Eastern Shore. I mean, it started as soon as people started arriving from the New World. Back then, waterfowl were a staple of their diet, and they needed something to attract the waterfowl to within the range of their guns, so they made decoys. And decoys brought waterfowl close enough to be harvested. It's a big heritage for the Eastern Shore.
Wow, it's hard to believe that some of those were not real birds.
They were certainly fantastic. Coming up after the break, we'll wrap up the show with your latest viewer photos. Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru, returns right after this.
You're watching Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards.
Welcome back to Outdoors Delmarva. It's time to flip through the photo album and take a look at your latest pictures.
Thanks to our friends at North Bay Marina.
Lynn Galita stands proudly with a beautiful sea trout she caught on the shores of Taylor's Island.
9-year-old Wyatt Hopkins reeled in his first red drum while fishing with his dad in Tyaskin.
Jacob Stevens of Snow Hill shows off this beautiful gobbler that had an 11-inch beard and 1.5-inch spurs.
14-year-old Landon Bradford of Powellville poses with his first turkey. That's a great looking bird, Landon.
Meg Watts strikes a tree pose you won't find in any yoga studio while she sights in a bird downrange.
And 8-year-old Bryant Park is shown here enjoying the good life at the Somerset County Fishing Rodeo.
Outdoors Delmarva viewer pictures are sponsored by North Bay Marina.
And that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you very much for watching. Keep sending in those pictures by emailing outdoors@wboc.com. Don't forget, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok by opening up your phone's camera and pointing it at your screen.
This QR code gives you all of our social media links, plus website, email, and YouTube page right at your fingertips. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you join us again next weekend for our very special Memorial Day weekend episode.
But until then, my name is Jason Lee.
And I'm Lauren Hitch.
And we hope to see you Outdoors Delmarva.
You've been watching Outdoors Delmarva, which is presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards. And sponsored by Shorts Marine. Everything but the water.